Well, everyone, on the face of it, it kind of looks like Nvidia are pulling a fast one on us. But we're going to dive into this and see what is really going on. Because whenever you, well, guarantee something as a part of a premium offering, funnily enough, the people who buy that premium offering do in fact expect the thing that they thought they were guaranteed. But pray that they alter the deal no further, because Nvidia Geforce NOW premium users are no longer guaranteed 60 FPS. And really that is an unfortunate thing, because honestly, Geforce NOW is pretty cool. And Nvidia makes some cool tech, so we don't want to see these bad things happening. Also, it's Nvidia. If you dive through some of their past and the relationship with consumers, they like the money, so they're not always in the best books of people, especially in a weird situation where they're also struggling to actually get enough graphics cards. Well, their partners, I suppose, enough graphics cards actually manufactured to fulfill demand, as your ongoing predicament very much shows.
Yep, which certainly makes this story a little bit worse, because you can arguably look and see that they are capitalizing on the fact that consumers don't have access to high-end graphics cards to push their own product a little bit further, as we'll get into.
Yeah, because if you haven't been able to get a GPU and you actually want to play some modern games, maybe you would think that you could stream, which effectively would be renting a very high-end GPU from Nvidia. So, of course, it's been rough for Nvidia because there's the Geforce NOW leak, which, initially we were kind of saying, oh, this is probably, maybe it's something, maybe it's not, but then things started to come true.
Yep.
So that's a bad leak. At least their partners are probably pissed. And then the premium pricing tier is no longer guaranteeing 60 FPS game streaming, which is bad. Definitely. Because 60 is what you would want, especially on PC. A Reddit user posted a write-up about the recent release Guardians of the Galaxy, which is running at a hard 50 FPS cap, despite the settings that were set such that it should have been better than that. Now, a few people initially thought that this was a bug, so the OP decided, all right, well, I'm going to get in contact with Nvidia customer care. And they actually said that the cap is intentional and game dependent. Yeah. My colleague escalated your case. Some games on GFN are capped to certain FPS, Cyberpunk 45 FPS, and others. For Guardians, it's capped at 50, so it's not a bug. I hope this helps. Thanks. Ouch. Path of Exile, capped at 50 FPS. I mean, that one doesn't make much sense.
Yeah.
You could maybe see this for some performance reason, but come on, Path of Exile, that's a pretty, at least I thought that was a pretty well-optimized game.
Yeah, it's like, you'll definitely get 60 on a decent PC on that, or decent settings. It's fairly old. It's well enough optimized. It's one of those free-to-play games that is designed for potatoes to run. So
yeah. Now, this is also double bad, because they recently raised the cost of the premium subscription from $5 a month to $10 a month for new customers. So they've increased the price and lowered the product offering.
Yeah.
Well, that's bad.
That is what I think is as we're going forward, now that a lot of subscriptions have found their market and found their marketplace, found their audience, I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of this pay more, get less across almost every service. I think anyway.
There'll be a squeeze.
Yeah.
But don't worry. They've got you covered. You could spend $10 a month for this. Or you could get the new Geforce NOW RTX 3080 membership. Pre-orders are currently open for users in North America and EU, and it costs $100 for 6 months.
Double the price.
Yeah, that's quite expensive. So one has to wonder then, will you still be getting 50 FPS in Guardians of the Galaxy with your 3080 membership? Or will you be getting 60? Or will you even be getting a higher frame rate than that? And that is the thing. Now, Nvidia are yet to respond to people's questions here, though they will likely be trying to hide behind the up to 1080p at 60 FPS wording that is used in marketing. So to take a look at this, we've got priority, which is, you can see the pricing there, up to 1080p 60, up to 1440p 120. So, if you're marketing that, but people realistically end up getting like 50 FPS on a new game like Guardians of the Galaxy, that won't be good. Now, undoubtedly, there are some problems. Recently, I watched Skill Up's video on Battlefield, the new Battlefield. Yeah. Now, I have a 3070 in this Razer Blade 14, so I'll be keen to see what my performance is like in that game. But on a 3090, he had performance issues.
Brutal.
And some of that did seem to be tied to the higher player count of 128. Now, that could be an issue for Nvidia if we have this weird situation where modern games come out and they, have big performance issues. Like, what does that mean for you having a minimum sort, like your users thinking it's going to be like at minimum this level of performance? So that's kind of, there's other factors at play here which probably do make that kind of rough.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where you look at the, up to, and anyone who's like going, okay, well, I trust these I trust this product, I trust the subscription, that's to cover them in the case of, like you say, you're not going to get a brand new game running at 120 frames per second at 1440p, especially not in like the early launch stages of a game. So that's the kind of go, if it was all in good faith, I would understand that wording. I go, yeah, okay, of course that makes sense. You're not making the game, you can't make that guarantee. That's okay. But when they're the ones hard capping, and the hard capping is so strange, 50 FPS, 45 FPS, that's clearly, nickel and diming players out of the power of their like graphics cards. That's not just a sort of, there's no like idiosyncrasy there that makes sense. It's clearly just, oh no, we need to conserve power here, and we're not going to tell you any reason why, and you fuck your experience. Paying customer, that's what you get.
And fundamentally that happens when you're not playing in your own hardware.
Yeah.
Right? It's like it's a good package on paper, but you are fundamentally subscribing to somebody else's service. And it's like, here's an example. Now, I don't want to do this in a way that's like us bigging each other up, but suffice to say, we care about encode quality.
Yeah.
You're a man with a Plex subscription and a very chunky hard drive who watches, you do partake in the anime. Mm-hmm. And believe me, I have found a lot of interesting things about how the anime community has got with encoding files. But generally, we're going to see a bad encode. Yeah. If I see somebody watching, just even times on Netflix, whatever. And that's a thing where, of course, with lockdown and all of that, a lot more people were using Netflix and Amazon Prime Video, and they decreased their encode quality. I don't think they put it back yet. Or at the very least, like, I consistently get frustrated.
Yeah.
The amount of time I spend, and like, I'm on a 500 down connection. There is no issue on my end. And it's like, okay, cool. Arcane just gets to look shit for 30 seconds before it looks good because I can't manually select my resolution. That's just the thing. You're on someone else's platform, so they can do all those little tweaks.
Yep.
And that just is how it is. One of the things with cloud gaming, I suppose.
If you've ever tried to watch anything on Amazon and you just see, here's a dark scene and all of the blacks and greys are terribly banded, that's the sort of stuff that makes me turn off the TV.
Yeah, it's pretty annoying. And then when it comes to games, of course, frame rates, they have got to be good. And certainly, like, if you're sitting there on a 60 FPS monitor, you would ideally not be running your game at 45. You'd ideally want to be running it at 60.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get that. So that's just not ideal. And I think for a lot of people, this just makes them remember, hang on a second, this is a streaming service. Yes, it's me playing a video game, but in the same way that Netflix can degrade my quality just because they want to rebalance their load or save in cost, the same can happen here. And I also have to wonder if there may be... I'd almost wonder, like, are they doing this to kind of hedge their bets to maybe prepare for the future, where maybe they feel like they're not going to have all of the kit that they'll need to always be supporting, a 1080-60 in every single modern game. I don't know exactly, but certainly it gives them more wiggle room. And that is wiggle room to go downward from the feature set that people initially expected with this platform.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was super up on Geforce Now when it first appeared. I was happy when I was trying it for a while. Obviously, I would rather not stream games. I'd rather just have them locally or not play them a lot of the time because the experience is, in my experience, degraded enough to not really be worth it.
Great.
But it was still like, okay, for people who don't mind it that much, which is, you know, most people basically, it's a perfectly good experience. And it was, you know, it was among the better sides because it was just, no, you can play the games you own. And it's like, okay, sweet. So we're sort of renting your hardware in an era where we can't buy hardware because someone's putting, or, you know, what is it? It's even like a 3060 selling at retailers is like 50 to 100% above RRP because that's just how it is these days. It was a good, you know, it was great. And now they're like, no, sorry, I have to go back on what I thought about the service because of how they're treating it as a business model.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people, you know, maybe you have a 970.
Yep.
So the 970 was such a popular card, and you've not been able to upgrade because it's been a hellscape. You know, it was like the crypto squeeze on GPU supply, and then now the current. So maybe one of the reasons you're interested in GeForce Now is because you want to be able to play a modern action game at 60 FPS. And now you find out, oh, it'll be 50. Oh, it'll be 45.
Yep.
So that just, yeah, fundamentally sucks for people. And this is something that's not really ideal in streaming overall. Of course, Google, you know, coming out with their, up to 4K, like really, and then the launch experience isn't like that. And that's going to make people feel messed with. I'll have to properly jump back into Microsoft's side of all of this.
Oh yeah, the cloud game
because
stuff.
it's been a while since I've checked that out.
Yeah.
But you know, I think they're probably one of the better players in this, certainly value proposition wise. Sony, you know, with GeForce Now, I hear good things for what it is, but it could do a bunch more. Just in terms of like quality, resolution, and stuff like that. And then of course for Nvidia, if you remember, they had the whole big drama where they went live. You could play a whole bunch of games, and then a bunch of publishers were all like, no, you can't. Yoink.
Yep.
So must have sucked for them. I guess, look, because me and Matt do play games locally, but I mean, even for our game, I had a few tweets. I actually had a few tweets from people saying, hey, can you support Stadia? Because right now I'm working remote and I'm traveling all over the place. I don't have a rig with me and it would be handy. So there clearly is a market for people with, you know, Stadia, xCloud and all of that. So I would say, if you are one of the people who is really using these streaming services, especially GeForce Now, what has your experience been like? Because, you know, me and Matt have hopped onto these things to test them out, to give them a shot, to see what they're like. But we're absolutely not day-to-day users of these services. So let us know how that is for you. Hopefully NVIDIA patch this up. And, well, that's it from me. I would say 45 FPS ain't great. I prefer 60. Cat's out of the bag. I can't do those lower frame rates. Have I become a snob? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but it's also in a world where now consoles are going, no, 60 FPS is about right. Sorry, we sort of screwed you over for 2 generations in a row. Here's 60 FPS by default on almost everything we do. And if you choose, if you'd rather have, you know, like I experienced trying to play Spider-Man in the quality mode, a terrible experience that maybe makes 30 FPS, you can choose that, but the performance mode's there for 60. And whenever console manufacturers are offering solutions and the graphics card manufacturers kind of going, nah, maybe frame rate's not that important for you guys anymore, then you certainly have to wonder.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not a good time.
So that's our situation with that. Let us know what you think. And man, what an interesting time, because as much as PC has always been my number one, it's always been where my heart has been.
Yeah.
It's hard to buy a PC that will run games good at a reasonable price.
Yep.
And we're in a world where the consoles are, if you can get the stock, they're a great deal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an interesting time. That's it from us. See you next time.